Well, I think we've been hearing for the last several hours that Fox had 24 million viewers, a record. So we on the Merk Levin Show want to congratulate Fox on their new record of 24 million viewers, many of whom were fairly disgusted by what they saw. Many of whom were liberals, probably laughing and having a great time. Oh, the missed opportunity. And what do I mean by that? We have some tremendous candidates, incredibly intelligent, who've done magnificent things, who are serious about trying to restore the republic and save the country from a catastrophe. After this presidency, this disastrous presidency, and for at least the first full hour or so of this so-called debate, I thought it was a reality TV show. I don't dump on Brett Baer. I think he's the one serious journalist who was there. And I don't know why he didn't have the center chair. But that tells you all you need to know. In many respects, the unseriousness of this, the disrespectfulness to certain candidates who deserved better. Disrespectful to we, the audience, and the process. I've been around a long time. I've watched a lot of debates. As you well know, I worked in 2 campaigns. I've never seen anything like this. In many respects, it was a spectacle. 8 more to go. Can only imagine what the so-called liberal news outlets are going to do now. They're going to want to outdo Fox, no question, which has been praised by the New York Times, praised by CNN. I almost feel like there was another agenda going on here, a ratings agenda, the constant hype, push. I didn't mind the first question at all about the third party. We already knew it, though. We already knew the answer. And when and if Donald Trump comes on this program next week, I'm going to continue to bore down on that. That's a serious matter as far as I'm concerned. But that aside, the 5 p.m. debate was actually very professional, very thoughtful, and very useful. And Carly Fiorina came out of it. As I mentioned yesterday, I thought she and Jindal and Santorum and one other I can't remember did quite well, but she clearly hit it out of the park. There was no question about it. But when you have 2 hours and 10 candidates, and a third of the time is spent by the moderators, over a half hour, that means the candidates get 6 or 7 minutes if they're lucky. We're not there to watch the moderators. This isn't about them. Quite frankly, this isn't about Fox. Quite frankly, this isn't about 24 million viewers to show great ratings splashed all over the internet. This is about us and our country. This is a deadly serious matter. Now, I don't expect moderators to be sops, but I don't expect them to be fools either. I mean, I was sitting there shaking my head, and I wasn't the only one. So many issues. I was wondering before the debate, how are they going to cover all these issues with all these candidates? They had no intention of covering all these issues with all these candidates. First and foremost, it was about the moderators and their network. That's why they took 1/3 of the time. Are they running for something? We have a right to know the position of these candidates on a whole wide variety of issues. That's the purpose of a debate. I was a debater. This isn't a debate. It's a reality show. I don't ever want to hear about the attacks on talk radio again emanating from cable TV. This is the most substantive, intelligent, thoughtful format in communications, in media, period. You can't get away with any of this on talk radio. This creates an atmosphere for the next 8 debates, and the Democrats are loving it. You know who enjoyed this debate the most last night? Barack Obama. Barack Obama. And the contrast between the 5 p.m. and the 9 p.m. debate Eastern Time couldn't be greater. Two real journalists at the 5 p.m. debate who did a very good job. A very good job. But we're all here congratulating our friends at Fox. They got their 24 million viewers. Greatest ever non-sport event in history on cable. And, of course, that's what matters. You know, I haven't announced who I'm supporting, and I'm not going to announce for a while. I haven't done infomercials for Donald Trump, and I'm getting tired of these infomercials for Donald Trump. And I'm also getting tired of these lies and these attacks on Trump. I don't like bullies. And that second question out of the box last night was premeditated. That second question out of the box, Megyn Kelly on her own didn't ask that question. That had to be approved by executives over there at Fox. They carefully stage managed this event. So that question was carefully stage managed. Wasn't a counter question. It wasn't an hour into the debate. It was planned. It was written. Every syllable was known in advance. And the minute she asked that question, I said to myself, what the hell is going on here? What the hell is this? What the hell is going on here? They wanted a spectacle. The question itself was a spectacle. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to be misinterpreted. A lot of these liberal blogs, they'll put headlines on, Levin trashes Fox, Levin trashes Kelly, Levin does this. I am telling you what I think. I am not trashing anybody. I am explaining what I saw and giving you my take on it as somebody who is very serious about what's going on in this country, and we have precious few opportunities to present a philosophy, arguments, to make distinctions, to put things in context, and to find the right candidate to run for president of the United States. Is that asking too much? Apparently so. This is why every time the media is rated by you, you detest them. They're lower than Congress. They're lower than the courts. They're lower than the president. And now I have to discuss with you Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell. Why? Because the second question during the debate with 24 million viewers, a record in all of history, was a reality TV question. Well, Mark, Trump's got to answer these questions. I'm not even defending Trump. I'm defending the truth. Well, Mark, he's got to be prepared to answer this question because of the Democrats. Fine, then let the Democrats ask it. We're trying to sort through the Republicans to determine who we want to nominate to take on the Democrats. We don't need everybody mimicking the Democrats. Ask some questions that are pertinent to we the people. Constitutional conservatives, independents, Republicans. It's the Republican primary, after all. Ask some questions relevant to us. And what is this abortion stuff? Every one of them getting hammered because they're pro-life. Let me suggest that when a moderator, quote-unquote, has an agenda, he or she should try and at least conceal it somewhat. But don't worry, 24 million viewers. Woo. Wow, that's just cool. Now, to be fair and balanced on this program, since that second question to Trump really, from my perspective, virtually destroyed the entire nature of this debate and turned it in so much reality TV. The first hour was just disastrous from my point of perspective anyway. Many of you may disagree. What was it that Rosie O'Donnell did or said? And why didn't the moderator present that information or put it in some form of context when she asked the question? All we heard are cherry-picked nasty words. Don't get me wrong, words I wouldn't use to describe a woman, but still, cherry-pick these words. We didn't even know the context. Most of us don't watch The View. We don't know what the hell's going on. But we know Trump said these words about a woman or women. Well, what happened? Which is the longer cut, Mr. Producer? You have that there? Go ahead and start. I want you to listen. I don't want to take this show, my show there, but we have to. Go ahead.
Donald Trump is in the news again because because his show, The Apprentice, is starting again in January.
Oh, yeah.
He held a big press conference to see if he was going to allow Miss USA, such a prestigious title, to regain and retain. Miss America is the prestige. Miss USA is a different thing.
Representing America in a bathing suit.
Yes, it's basically a model competition. Let's be realistic, okay?
What about peace in the world? They always want peace in the world.
They have one question in Miss USA.
Now let's stop. So I'm sure the moderator who was so offended by what Trump said is offended by the mocking of other women by the leftist kooks on The View. Mocking women, mocking them, mocking them, mocking them. Go ahead.
And end world hunger. And then I'd like to go to Studio 54 and do some crack. But apparently, this young girl, Tara Connor, how old is she? 21. She went out and she was partying. She's from Kentucky.
She's so cute.
She went to New York and she was hanging out at all the parties, doing what Paris and Lindsay do, dancing, whatever. And so he held a press conference to announce whether or not she was going to retain her crown.
Yeah.
And then she started to cry.
She did.
So I just want to thank Donald is giving me a second chance.
And it's brilliant.
And there he is, hair looping, going, everyone deserves the second chance.
He's mocking him.
I'm going to give her a second chance.
Your hair is perfect.
Listen, he annoys me on a multitude of levels. He's the moral authority. Left the first wife, had an affair. Left the second wife, had an affair.
There she is, attacking him, his family, his wives, his kids. Go ahead.
Moral compass for 20-year-olds in America. Donald, sit and spin, my friend. I don't enjoy him. No.
This is the thing. You say what you want to say about it.
Let's stop. So I want you to understand, folks, at least in part, this was the basis for the second question at a presidential debate. The View, which makes a mockery of women all the time. The View, which is nothing but a nasty gossip program. This was the basis, in part, for the second question in this debate. And in part, this is what Trump was responding to. An attack on him, a vicious attack on his ex-wives, his relationship with them, and his children. And she mocked him, and she flipped her hair over and did an imitation of him. Fine. And he responded. He may not have responded in a way that you and I would have responded, but he responded. He defended himself, and he defended his family, and he called her names. So why didn't the moderator who presented this case, who's a lawyer, fill in some of the gaps and explain what he was responding to? It's not, you've called women B word, and you've called them this, and you've called them that. That is bad. I get it. But is that what he does? He walks around calling women names? Actually, that's not what he does. The question was utterly unfair and non-factual because it was out of context. And what about this, a woman on her knees? You've said that this woman would look good on her knees. Well, that woman has responded. The woman he told that to. And when we come back, I want you to hear what she says. And it's very unfortunate that I have to waste valuable time dealing with this, but if I don't do it, nobody else will. I'll be right back.
Merk Levin.
You know, the left has tried to take out various hosts at Fox. They've tried to take out various management figures at Fox. And I and you rallied to their defense. And yet yesterday, it was clear that there was an abandonment of principle and focus, which is why you have the New York Times and CNN praising a news outlet that they detest. They appreciated what was done during that debate. Again, I accept Brett Baer, who is a real journalist, and I believe his first question was a thoroughly legitimate question. But the second question set the stage. We have 10 candidates, all serious individuals. They averaged about 6 minutes each, 6 minutes in a 2-hour debate. And the moderators took over a half hour. Each one of them, I guess, got over 10 minutes. I believe Miss Kelly probably got more. This isn't the moderator show. It's not the Megyn Kelly show. It's not the whatever show. The debate format exists for we the people. Not to drive up ratings, not to showcase hosts, not to target individual candidates. It exists for we the people. Nothing I'm saying should be provocative. Nothing I'm saying is a personal attack. What I'm saying is right. What I'm saying is the truth. More when I return.
More logic than allowed by law. The Merk Levin Show. Call now at 877-381-3811.
Analysis of the first half hour of the program. Mr. Producer, would you open your mic, please?
Yes.
Have I been fair?
Oh, absolutely.
Have I been factual?
100%.
Now, if you thought I wasn't, you wouldn't say otherwise, really, would you?
Correct.
No,
absolutely.
Correct. So now we have the spectacle of shows on our favorite cable network asking paid commentators if they've been fair. No, you haven't. All right, well, you're gone. So we have the spin of the spin. Now, Trump was accused by the moderator asking the second question. And keep in mind, I haven't endorsed Trump. I doubt that I'm going to, as a matter of fact. But that has nothing to do with this. Nothing. In fact, let's go ahead and play it. Cut 7, Mr. Producer. Go.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals.
Now, let me stop right there. As an attorney, and she's one, and I'm one, exactly whom are you talking about? What is the source, and what's the context? No, those words are not acceptable, but I'm still asking. We want to know. I mean, at least he's not accused of rape. Oh, they tried that with Ivana Trump. Remember that, Mr. Producer? And she came out and said baloney. But Bill Clinton is accused officially, on the record, of rape, which was ignored by the media for months. Maybe he didn't use these words, but he used something else. Go ahead.
Twitter account
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't. Your Twitter account,
Thank you.
for the record, it was well beyond Rosie O'Donnell.
Yes, I'm sure it was.
Your Twitter account has several disparaging comments about women's looks. You once told a contestant on Celebrity Apprentice it would be a pretty picture to see her on her knees.
Stop. You once told a contestant on Celebrity Apprentice it would be a pretty picture to see her on her knees. She's reading this. So this was done with forethought. Every syllable was planned in advance. So the researchers did the research. This was approved had to be by management. You once told a contestant on Celebrity Apprentice it would be a pretty picture to see her on her knees. That's pretty grotesque, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead, Mr. Producer.
Does that sound to you like the temperament of a man we should elect as president?
All right, let's stop right there. So that's the specific example she gives, asking about his temperament. And by the way, you may have legitimate questions about his temperament. I am drilling down on what took place. This isn't about, oh, you support him, you don't support him. I am disgusted with the lost opportunity here. That this would be the second question, setting the stage for the rest of the hour. This is our country. This is the Republican primary process. Our primary process. Not the news media. Not any news media. This isn't about hosts. It isn't about their ratings. It's about our country. Now, you want to know the facts about that? Because if I don't tell you the facts, you're not going to know the facts about that. And I've never met Mr. Trump. I've never played golf with Mr. Trump. I've never gone to any clubs with Mr. Trump. I've never had a meal with Mr. Trump. Nothing. Zero. I don't have a dog in this fight, except integrity. Donald Trump on the Morning Joe this morning, and I never play crap from that crap show, but I will now. Hat tip, right scoop, cut 24, go.
I don't remember that on The Apprentice, and I don't know where they got some of these words, to be honest with you. In fact, I'm going to have somebody call up and find out where these words came from.
Well, they found the words, and they were perfectly innocent. Donald Trump on season 6 of The Apprentice. Now, by the way, that means that our good friends at Fox went through The Apprentice, the various shows of The Apprentice, the season of The Apprentice, went back and looked at his Twitter and his Facebook, trying to dig, like opposition research, trying to dig stuff up. Here we, the people, we want to know their views on a whole host of issues. 10 candidates, 2 hours, let's get with it. This is what they did. They turned it into the National Enquirer. I say this with enormous regret. Cut 25, go. This is from The Apprentice.
Brandy came in here, she got down on her knees and said, I passionately want to do this. I, at this point, am the team chooser, not the team leader yet.
Excuse me, you dropped to your knees.
Yeah.
And begged to do this. And I said, I'm looking around the room, and we had even LaToya, who sitting beside me, thought maybe Brandy was right.
Must be a pretty picture you dropped to
John
your
and
knees.
Dennis thought I should be. Omarosa said me. Some other people said you.
A pretty picture to see her drop on her knees. That wasn't in a sexual context. The context was she dropped to her knees begging whomever it was to do a particular task or not do a particular task, which is the nature of The Apprentice, which I never really watched, but other people watched. So it is assumed that it's a sexual innuendo when the context suggests it's not. But it's certainly not clear-cut at all, and from my perspective, it's not at all a sexual innuendo. And yet that's the specific example that is used against him. After all the background search that must have been done, this is season 6 of The Apprentice. They were looking and looking. This is question number 2 in a Republican presidential debate. Well, he's going to have to learn to answer these questions. Really? This is a Republican primary process. We want to pick our nominee. Then we'll duke it out with the sleazeballs on the left. Go ahead. Continue with it, Mr. Producer. That's it. Now, Brandy Roderick, if you don't believe me, she's the Apprentice contestant who dropped to her knees. And here's what she said about all of this. Maybe they should have talked to her before this was such a seminal point in question number 2. Cut 26, go.
I actually didn't even remember, like him, I didn't even remember him saying that. And from the clip, you can see all he was reacting to was, what he thought it would have looked like. But, I've always had a positive experience around Donald. He's always been encouraging. He's never been disrespectful to me. I don't condone men being derogatory, but I think he was just, he's on television. He's trying to be funny. I don't think that he meant anything, horrible by it.
So here I've had to spend over 40 minutes of my program in the first hour dealing with this, addressing this. I am still stunned by this. Where we have accomplished men on the stage, 10 of them, governors, former governors, senators, who are vying to be the Republican nominee for President of the United States. We're facing enemies all around us, the Islamo-Nazis in Tehran. Imagine if I ran for president, what they'd be running. The Islamo-Nazis in Tehran, the Red Chinese on the rise, the Russians on the move. They just attacked the Pentagon, cyber war. The economy is lousy. By the way, Megyn, I'm going to show you your war on women. And by the way, the women I was sitting with yesterday were not very happy with you. I'm just saying. Each one of them said, you don't represent them. Why do you claim to defend them? This isn't personal. I'm not accusing people of things. I'm not taking things out of context. I'm challenging. Up on the Drudge Report, among other things, record 56,209,000 women are not working. A record. Obama is waging a war on women. Liberals are waging a war on women. Democrats are waging a war on women. This is their economy. This is their government. These are their policies. Wouldn't it have been nice if this was discussed? More. Ready for this one? 100% of the jobs that women hold, female employment gains, since 2007, by foreigners. Let me repeat that. 100% female employment gains taken by foreigners since 2007. That sounds like a war on American women. Not one question related to this. Instead, we have to hear about stuff that's cherry-picked out of season 6 of The Apprentice, stuff that's cherry-picked from The View, and Trump's battle with Rosie O'Donnell. And I'm shaking my head watching this and saying, what the hell is this? But don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. 24 million viewers. That is a record for cable TV in a non-sporting event. Congratulations. I'll be right back.
Merk Levin.
I know most of you are angry as hell. I know you are. You've been writing. You've been posting on my Facebook and Twitter accounts. I know you're furious. But you better get ready. It's going to get worse because this was the shot heard around the liberal media. And so now they're all going to try and outdo this. Democrats don't have to put up with this. Democrats don't put up with this. Barack Obama has never been questioned like this. We don't know what his grades were. We don't know how he got into college and law school. We don't know a damn thing about him. And yet we're going to hunt down our guys, their Twitter, their Facebook, and so forth and so on. Well, Mark, this is what the left does. I don't give a damn what the left does. We're not the left. Our goal is to destroy the left. Our goal is victory. Not to mimic the left. Not to be as loathsome as they are. It's a perfect opportunity to allow these guys to express themselves, get into the issues. We're losing our country, for God's sakes. Is it too much to expect a debate to be a debate and not about The Apprentice and Rosie O'Donnell? I am so disappointed. I'm just telling you the truth. It is frustrating as hell. And we're sitting there watching and watching and watching. It's like, well, where the hell did Ted Cruz go? Why don't you ask him a question? And after 40 minutes, they finally ask him a question. But then when you look at the numbers, oh, he had 6 minutes too. Not till the very end. He was asked about God. I mean, how much time was spent on abortion? Like it's George Stephanopoulos interview. Now they know, they have a lawyer on that panel. There's damn little that can be done about abortion in this country, given the Supreme Court's ruling. Unless we amend the Constitution, unless we have a convention of the states, unless we defund Planned Parenthood and so forth. It was extremely disappointing in my humble opinion. That's just one man's opinion, and millions of others in his audience. If you're like me, you've been hearing a lot of rhetoric from the candidates, the 2016 GOP candidates. And you don't want to just be hoping they'll actually practice what they preach. You need to check out Conservative Review's new presidential surveys. They're crafted, simple questions, plain English, that address the issue areas that are important to you and to the future of our country. It's time for these politicians to stop dancing around questions and to give a simple yes or no to questions that everybody wants to know. And this is what we expected at the debate yesterday, but for the most part didn't get. Questions like, will you fight for the full repeal of Obamacare and veto any legislation that funds it? It's time for these politicians to tell us clearly what position they're going to take if they get elected, and it's our responsibility as citizens to hold them to it. There's no better tool out there than these presidential surveys from conservativereview.com. Conservative Review surveys let you compare results between candidates and get real-time alerts whenever a new candidate responds. Take 2 minutes right now, register at conservativereview.com, conservativereview.com. You know, people are working so hard to try and get you substantive information about the candidates, about issues. God knows I spent 12 months running thunder in deceit, weekend after weekend, night after night, gathering the most, I think, persuasive arguments I can to save this republic and the future generation. Can't we at least expect that in a debate format, I'm not talking about talking points and softballs, far from that, but can't we expect an intelligent debate, an intelligent discussion like they had at 5 p.m., at 9 p.m., rather than instigating a food fight, rather than throwing out gossip without context? It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. All this talk about Trump. Why do they think their ratings went through the roof with 24 million viewers? What do they think? And you know, the opportunity there for these candidates to display their views, their differences, their experiences, I think in many respects was blown. It doesn't mean some of them didn't get through, but they had to fight through it. They had to fight through it. And let me tell you right now, I told you Rubio would do well. He's a good debater. I don't care if you support him or not. That's not what we're talking about. And he did well. Huckabee did well, although his Social Security answer, he sounded like a liberal. Social Security is going to collapse, and something has to be done about it, or it's done. Not for those of you who are on it, but the next group that moves into it. Ted Cruz really didn't have a lot of time in my view. Oh, well, he had 6 minutes. I thought he was one of the most mature on the dais. They're very excited about John Kasich because he gave an answer on same-sex marriage that liberals like. So they, that guy, he's great. And I told you before the debate, I think he and or Christie are their backup to Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush was a big bore. The guy has no passion. Who else? Ben Carson, I thought, was superb. Superb. He has a conversational manner. A non-political, non-practiced conversational manner that, to me, is very appealing. Scott Walker did a pretty good job. He held his own. Chris Christie, who I am no fan of, did a pretty good job. He held his own. Who's left? Rand Paul. Well, my suggestion to Rand is don't seem so anxious. You seemed way too anxious. Now, ladies and gentlemen, remember, there's 9 debates. This is the first inning in a 9-inning baseball game. It's early yet. And you know what? A week from now, none of this will be memorable. That's how bad this debate was. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Merk Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. The number 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. I'm done discussing the debate. I don't want to discuss it anymore. I don't even know what it was. It certainly wasn't a real debate. Poor Mr. Producer, he put clip after clip after clip together. But, I'm the cleanup hitter. I'm the last one in. You've probably heard all these, or if you were one of the 24 million. And by the way, that's the news now on our favorite cable network. 24 million. 24 million. Who gives a crap? Well, apparently it's news. Apparently it's news. Although I should read this. And by the way, Fox has been extremely generous to me. At least some of the hosts have. Really, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 of the hosts have. One of them won't talk to me anymore. Know what the hell his problem is. Here are the rules. The lawyers for our favorite cable network set out a letter to all other media outlets, certainly our media outlet, and called an advisory. Isn't that correct, Mr. Producer? You got this and sent it to me. And here's what it says. This is the truth. Fox News has secured exclusive media rights to the Republican presidential primary forum taking place at the Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland, Ohio, airing on the Fox News channel, as well as Fox News Radio, Fox News Mobile, FoxNews.com on August 6, 2015, beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern Time and ending at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You are hereby advised to respect our exclusive rights to the forum by not broadcasting, transmitting, selling, licensing, giving, bartering, exchanging, or otherwise disseminating the forum or any portion thereof, regardless of whether Fox News supplied you the forum or if the forum or excerpts were supplied to you by other sources. Permission to use the forum is only granted if the following restrictions are adhered to. Number 1, an appropriate, unobstructed, on-screen credit, courtesy of Fox News Channel, hard to do on the radio, by the way, must appear in the upper left or right-hand corner of the screen during the entire forum excerpt, and the forum excerpt must be introduced with an audio credit. In a forum on the Fox News channel, quote-unquote. On radio, each excerpt must be introduced with the same audio credit. Number 2, during the 7-day period described in the paragraph 4 below, you may not air more than a total amount of 3 minutes of excerpts from the forum in any one program. You know what? It goes on. I'm not airing anything. Wrapped 1,000 different ways by their lawyers. Fine. Won't air a damn thing. Throw it away. The hell? This is supposed to be for us, this debate. We the people. Not the slip and fall lawyers telling people like me and others, oh, you can't play this and you can't play that. What are you talking about? This is a Republican presidential primary. Did Reince Priebus agree to these rules? They're owned by 20th Century Fox? So you can't just play what you want to play? Oh, you got to give us credit. So every time I play something, I have to read that like I'm a parrot and repeat it? I have never received anything like that. Mr. Producer, have we ever received anything like that?
Not once. First time.
Never. From any liberal news outlet? No. No outlet. So screw it. 24 million. Oh. And we can't play anything after mid-August. Which means, I guess, after the next week. I'm not playing anything at all. I guess I'll have to wait for MSNBC or CNBC or CNN or NBC or CBS or ABC. Then we'll be able to play it, I guess. All right, if you want a serious discussion of the issues, if you want to actually learn some information that's not readily available in the media or other places, if you want to share with me an effort to get these issues more than ever before into this campaign, into the primary process, and eventually into the general election, issues that, in fact, relate to the debt, relate to entitlements, the environment, immigration, the minimum wage, national security, and the Constitution, all of which should be debated in every debate, where the candidates have an opportunity to address them so we can take their measure. And when they don't, ladies and gentlemen, that robs you and me. That takes from you and me, the voter. Well, this is why I always talk about a grassroots, bottom-up effort.